welcome back to another episode of the PlantFueled Femme. Today we have guest Sara Putney with us. Sara is a trauma-informed somatic breathwork facilitator and mother. Sara guides women to release emotional baggage, experience profound presence, and reclaim their authentic selves through the power of breath. Her journey from childhood trauma and anxiety to healing and self-discovery has given her a deep empathy and understanding of the challenges that women face. She's personally experienced how somatic practices can create lasting change, healing internal chaos and helping her show up more fully for herself and for her family. She's committed to leading generational well-being and healthy wealth through a body-first healing approach. So thank you for joining us today, Sara. I am really looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know that we are supposed to talk about nervous system today, but I just want to say that I really, really love that your practice puts like your health at the forefront. I think a lot of women really struggle with that. So I just absolutely love that.
Yeah, and something that in listening to your podcast and your work, I love that we have in common this long-term well-being. There's so much out there about quick fix and hacks and tips and tricks, but it has to be sustainable and it has to work for our lifetime, not just for the short term.
Right. Yes, we cannot hack our way out of life. We just can't do it. Yeah. So the nervous system, let's start here. So some of our listeners may not be familiar with what somatic breathwork is. I think starting there and kind of breaking down what is that would be a great place to dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the times when folks hear breath work, they think of yogic breath work.
Right.
You go to a class, you breathe to calm your body, to relax, to kind of soothe your mind and soothe your day. The type of breath work that I have practiced and am now trained and certified in, somatic means working with the body. So in our conversation about the nervous system, our nervous system is this electrical network. We can think electricity running through a house. It's in the walls, you can't see it, but allows you to turn your lights on and off. It allows you to cook in your kitchen and make delicious food. We have this network running throughout our body, and the nervous system is what's keeping us alive. There are several aspects to it, but the part that I focus on is the autonomic nervous system. So it's running in the background, allowing our heart to beat, allowing us to breathe without thinking about it. And in somatic breath work, what this type of breath work does, it is actually activates the nervous system into survival mode. So you're consciously bringing your body into a place where it might feel it's in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which we naturally experience every day, whether we realize it or not. It's part of being human. And what happens sometimes is through chronic stress, through trauma, the body can get stuck in those states or be in those states majority of the time. So with somatic breath work, it's allowing you a controlled space and time to bring your body into that state and then slowly teach your body how to come out of that state into a place of rest and digest. This is where your gut can literally be digesting food and metabolizing food for energy. It's where your muscles are relaxing, recuperating, allowing you to build that strength and to move forward with whatever physical goals that you have. But it's really important that if our body is not used to resting and digesting, we can use somatic breath work as a tool to come back into that state.
No, I love that. I think that social media has done a great job of informing people that they are stressed, right? But I think that it almost can become stressful trying to de-stress yourself.
Yeah, I so agree. And like we said in the beginning, this idea of, right, hack your way to health, use all these quick tips and tricks. It's like we're making it harder for our body. And like you said, causing even more stress. It's so funny. I see all these like short clips on social media that's like, oh, do this somatic practice, go shake your body, go do this. But the way that I define trauma is actually anything that's too much or too soon for your body. And if you're forcing yourself into somatic practices that don't actually feel good for you, you can create more stress in the body. You can raise your cortisol levels, your adrenaline levels can go up, and that's actually more harmful than it is beneficial. So we want to start in ways that are slow and easy and doable for our bodies because our bodies are so used to hustle culture, being on the go all the time, and that natural overwhelm that we want to take the opposite approach of going slow and in ways that's manageable and sustainable for us.
Right. No, I think that is very, very important. And if we look at kind of how our culture is, where we're like all or nothing, I think I can see where people might struggle with the concept of, oh, I don't have to, force myself to do this. It can be something that's, more gentle or more gradual and still see progress by, consistently implementing that.
And that is really when you see progress, right? I think about like I used to go to the gym all the time. I no longer go to the gym, but when I did, some people have this concept of, oh, after one workout, I'm going to see results. No, that's not necessarily the case. It's the little workouts over time that one day you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I've been working out for a couple months. Oh my gosh, look, my muscles are more toned. I didn't notice it after one workout because your body needs that time for those changes to take place. And
Mhm.
this is the same concept. It has to be sustainable. And over time, you're going to notice the transformation and be like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe a couple months ago I was in a completely different place.
Right, right. I think that's very important to note that your nervous system is no different than your physical body as far as being able to see those changes. Just because we do a practice one time isn't necessarily going to, well, it's not going to like give you that quick fix. It can't. Our body isn't designed that way from the inside out. Like everything is cumulative. Even disease is cumulative. So so when we look at the nervous system, um, I guess people, I think, are very aware of, hey, I'm stuck in fight or flight or freeze or fawn, whatever. And so then they become, you know, diligent about getting out of that space. What are some of the metrics that you find that work at that slower, consistent, gradual pace that is needed to actually see progress?
Yeah, it's the power of pausing every day. If in the beginning it's something you're not used to, maybe you're someone who lives in your mind all the time, you're thinking about your to-do list or the next thing on your schedule, it can be helpful to set a timer once a day. Take 60 seconds for yourself. That's all you need. Check in with your body. Say, what does my body need right now? And starting there, it's so simple and so sustainable, and it can make a huge difference. It can be things like noticing the cues in your body. Am I thirsty? Do I want a drink of water? Am I hungry? Is my body tired right now? When we're so used to being on the go and that disconnection from the body, we don't notice those simple cues. So, beginning with that check in with yourself, and the more that you practice it, the more that it's going to become a habit and just happen naturally. And then you may start to notice, right, if you have kids or you care for loved ones, situations where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting overwhelmed right now. I'm feeling all this emotion come up in my body. I want to yell, but instead let me pause and just notice it and choose something different in this moment.
Right. I think that you're really onto something with that. People, they have kind of lost connection with their bodies. So knowing what they're even looking for during that 60 seconds, I think could be huge because, what are they looking for? They don't know. There's not that connection to, well, to internal things so much anymore. Sometimes there's not even connection to external factors anymore.
Yeah, and what I tell my clients is if you do a check-in and your response is, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, or I'm not sure that I feel anything, that's perfect too, because you're starting the practice. And it's great just to have that reflection of, oh, I don't know what I feel right now, or I'm not feeling anything. And the more that you practice it, the more you might start to notice, oh, I have a sensation in my stomach right now. Again, I don't know what that sensation is, but I'm noticing it that it's there. And
Mhm.
with practice, you're just going to get to learn the landscape of your body more and more.
Right. No, I think that's fantastic. Do you recommend like keeping a written log of what you find or discover in your 60-second quest every morning?
I think it depends on the person. Some folks might find, oh, if I have to write it down, that's more work. I'm not actually going to do it. Some folks, they just want to take the minute and think about it. So it's really whatever works for the individual. It's about the consistency of actually pausing for that minute and checking in. You could find it helpful to write down and notice your progress over time. You might get more specific and more detailed. But again, if that's too much or too overwhelming, it's definitely not necessary.
Right. No, and I think going over what isn't necessary is probably important in the long, in the big picture. Yeah.
Exactly.
So with the somatic breath work, it deals more with the autonomic nervous system. So I believe you're correct, and most people do equate breath work with more with yoga, or maybe you've done like the counted breath work where you inhale for a certain amount of times and then exhale for a certain amount of numbers. And so I think people are familiar with that. But how is the somatic breathing different?
Yeah, so I'm trained in two specific techniques. Both techniques are fully through the mouth. The reason being it allows more oxygen to enter the body. If you've ever seen a child breathe, they are taking full belly breaths naturally. Their belly will expand and contract as they breathe. As adults, we have lost this natural way because, again, we're just so used to being on the go. Our breathing has become shallow. Sometimes your chest will barely rise and fall. So with the breath work that I teach, again, it's through the mouth. There's two different types depending on what someone feels more comfortable with or the amount of time that they have to go into their practice. But it's breathing deep into that lower belly, bringing in as much oxygen as you can into your body and allowing as much exhale to come out as possible. And what I do is I recommend in our practices, we do it for at least 20 minutes. My full journeys are 45 to 60 minutes. And what it does is increasing the oxygen in the body. It's allowing your body to get out of that survival state. It allows the thinking mind to quiet. Just like a workout, it can take 10 to 15 minutes for you to get over this like hump of resistance and your mind just thinking of all these other things you can be doing and places to be. So then you really allow your body to get into this heightened state. The mind is quiet, but when the body is heightened, you can notice more sensations, whether it's tension or warmth or discomfort. Sometimes folks feel like a lightheartedness, just different sensations in the body and emotions that come up to be released. So sometimes you can cry or feel the urge to scream and release sound from the body. Some folks feel laughter and joy. It's really different depending on the day and the experience. But then at the end of the journey, what we do is we take 10 minutes to just rest, allow the breathing to come back to a natural state, allow your body to calm down and to kind of integrate what you've experienced, whether you've had messages come through or profound thoughts. I have a particular client that she always had a hard time celebrating her birthday every year. And I think it was her third or fourth in-person group breathwork journey with me. And her birthday was coming up. And she said, oh my gosh, I want to take my son to Disney. Like, I'm in love with Disney. That's what I want to do this year for my birthday. And during this rest at the end of the 10 minutes, she was able to solidify within herself, okay, this is possible. I can actually enjoy my birthday for the first time in a very long time. And I can go home and buy the flights and book the tickets and do all these things. And that's exactly what she did. She then went home and was able to book this incredible trip with her son and enjoy time that she usually doesn't find enjoyable otherwise, just in that short 60-minute session. But again, those last 10 minutes, allowing the body to digest and integrate any feelings, sensations, or thoughts that really come through with such profound clarity and sense of peace that you know for you that's your truth and it doesn't matter what any external voices have to say.
No, that's amazing. So this kind of says to me, and correct me if I'm wrong. So our body with the nervous system and our brain, and when our brain controls the nervous system, it is electric. So we basically have this electric system running in the background constantly. I mean, that's how our body functions, but it's almost like we're disconnected from it. And the somatic breath work is different in that it allows you to kind of tap back in here and, you know, trust what is running in the background rather than ignoring it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really reestablishing that connection and those felt sensations in the body. If anyone experiences chronic stress, which I think is most of us, right, or trauma, multiple instances of trauma, that disconnection from the body is because it doesn't feel safe to be in the body anymore. The sensations that come up, the emotions are too overwhelming and too much. So you kind of just live from the head up because that's what feels safe. And in somatic breath work, you begin to reestablish the connection either of safety or if safety is not doable at that time, just a sense of neutrality. Okay, it's neutral to reestablish the connection with my body.
Right. And it is trauma, you think, that causes this in most instances, or just simply life?
Yeah, so this is such a good question. I think that over our evolution as humans, we used to know how to naturally discharge stress. And right, as stress builds up over time, it's trauma, but we've lost that ability to naturally get it out. And so, because we're holding so much in our bodies and it's building up, right? Anything that's too much too soon, it's just holding in the body as trauma, whether we consider that, right? Big T trauma, these large events that we think of, or small things that is just chronic stress adding up over time. So to your point, right, I define it as trauma, but I think it's just part of life and living in today's day and age as a human and not knowing how to discharge that energy from our bodies.
Right. No, that makes complete sense because, if our body is an electrical system, like you have to be able to discharge energy, and we don't. Like, even unconsciously, I don't know that we do. It's just society is so, there's rules, there's regulations, there's things that are acceptable, there's things that are not acceptable. And then there's so much like judgment.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so funny because something that's been really powerful in my practice and that I bring to working with my clients is letting out frustration, anger, rage. And at the time of recording this, my daughter is 3.5. And a practice that I have with her is we're mad. All right, let's go yell into a pillow. Let's go punch a pillow. If we're in the car, we're going to roll up all the windows if there's a lot of cars around and we're going to yell and let it out. But that's typically not socially acceptable. And what I'm seeing more and more is there are rage practices, there are screaming practices. And it's to this point of we've forgotten how to let that out in a way that's healthy. And so, so much of the time it comes out in ways that are unhealthy, harmful, and toxic to those in our lives. So if we can practice it in healthy ways, that can really make a big difference in our lives and the lives of those around us.
Right. Right. And then when we do, kind of keep things bottled in, and we explode, and then it releases in a way that's not healthy, we just further like continue enforcing well, the generational trauma that I know that we all carry with us.
Exactly. And so many of us don't want to do that. So why not be proactive and get ahead of it so that when you're in this moment, you're like, okay, I have tools and practices that I can go back to, and I don't need to yell and scream and take it out on my loved ones.
Right. Right. And I don't think we ever intend to. That is just simply the consequence of not knowing how to manage it in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess you could use social media to find something that's actually good. I think there are some people I know that do put out information that's good, but the problem is just, collecting information. And this is really interesting because I saw someone make a post about this just yesterday, that we have like an epidemic of people saving information on social media. And it's like you think you are doing something good because you saved this so that you can come back to it. The problem is that there's so much information, you never go back to it. So you look at your save history and you have like 5,000 things saved that maybe something could have potentially been helpful, but you'll never know because you never go back and look at it.
Yeah, and you never actually apply it. And this is what so many people are missing and coming back to the disconnection from the body, living in our head. We're in a world that's all about information and data and rationalization and logic. Okay, that's great and it's beautiful, but now actually apply it, actually embody it. And to come back to a point that we were talking about before, information overload is another form of stress. Your
Right.
body is trying to hold all that information and it's building up as stress and can create disease. We're not meant to be digesting the amount of information and data that is available to us in today's world. Our body hasn't evolved to capture that much data.
Right. No, it certainly has not. We're not computers. Um, I think you said something though that's super interesting, and maybe I think we have time to touch on that. So if we're, creating all of this stress and our nervous system is trying to deal with all of this stress, you just mentioned creating disease, and I think that's something we should touch on real quick.
Yeah, so it's so funny. I'm a big proponent of disease is dis-ease. When
Mhm.
your body is not in a state of ease and flow or discharging energy that is too much, like we said, it builds up over time. Dis-ease doesn't happen all of a sudden you have this new disease. That took months and years for the body to build that up and for you to eventually, hopefully, receive a diagnosis for what you're going through. But it's because your body is not at ease. So, learning practices, somatic, soma means working with the body, learning to work with the body to discharge anything that is not allowing for ease can really help you move through it, move that energy, and find ways to live a healthier lifestyle.
Yes, no, that's so true. And I think there is a huge, amount of the population that doesn't understand just how much of a role stress plays in a lot of the chronic illness that we see.
Yeah, and not even just right, like physical stress from outside aspects, but right, Plant Fueled Femme, the name of this podcast, it's what we're putting into our bodies too. So majority of the food in the United States, I encourage you, right? If you don't know this, go do your research. We have so much sugar. Oh my goodness, majority of our food is processed. It's high sugar, not even natural sugar. It's corn syrup. And that is causing stress on the body too because the body is not designed to process that type of quote unquote food that we're intaking. And so this is coming back to, right, you can learn healthier ways of living. You can say, oh my gosh, an apple, the natural sugars in an apple is actually so nourishing and feels so good to my body. And your body can easily digest it. And that's where the ease comes in because your body is not fighting to digest something that it's actually not meant to digest.
Right. Yeah, food plays a huge role. I was just having a conversation with a client last night, and again, it goes back to that cumulative effect. Like, what we have in our environment, like just in our homes, can be a stress. From the amount of electronics to like, do we have air fresheners plugged in? What are we washing our clothes with? Are we wearing perfume? Do we use scented candles? Like all of those things can be a stress. Can our body handle one or two of them? Sure. Can it handle 50 to 100 of them every day? Probably not so well. And so it creates a cumulative effect. And then people worry about detox, but they don't really know what they're detoxing or how to do it. And so then that in itself can create more of a stress burden on the body because you're just throwing random things and not even understanding what you're doing. And it just can compound the problem, or at the very least, like nothing happens. So I think that understanding that everything has that cumulative effect is really important.
Yeah, and I love this point of what we're absorbing in our environment. It's so funny when I go to yoga studios and they have like a Glade plug-in. And I'm
Right.
like, all right, if I'm facilitating, I go unplug it. Like, I have not used air fresheners, perfume, scented deodorants in at least 5 years, maybe even more. And like, just realizing any of your five senses, right? Touch, sight, smell, taste, or hearing you can be overwhelmed. And our skin is our largest organ, so we might as well take care of it with natural products, again, that is non-toxic to the body and easy for the body to metabolize and break down and, right, release any waste without holding on to those toxins.
Yes, yes, absolutely. We've done so many podcasts about about toxins and overload and skin and liver function. And I think, if you're listening right now, I think going back and listening to some of those episodes, could maybe provide a little bit of actionable steps that you could follow if you're so inclined, or, just gather up more information and store it and don't do anything with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, I think we've covered, a lot of how the somatic breathwork works. I think you've given out a couple really good tips too. Was there anything else that we wanted to cover on the nervous system or somatic breathwork today, Sarah?
I think the only other thing is when you're looking into practices, if you want to try a somatic practice, start small. Start with the sensations of your body. Feel your skin. Notice your fingertips touching your skin. Give yourself a hug. Notice your clothes. Put on a comfy sweater. Again, coming back to those five senses. Start small and start with what feels doable for you. And I want to offer listeners a 20-minute audio at 50% off. It's a receive prosperity practice. It's something you can do if you're ready to invest the time and money on your own and just listen to it whenever you feel called to work with the breath, work with the body, and go a little bit deeper than some of these initial practices.
Oh, I love that. That's super generous of you. Where can they find that download, Sarah?
Yeah, so I'll provide the link so that we can drop it in the show notes. And you can also find me on my website at remotheringmamas.com.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. Listeners, if you are listening and you would like to, check out what Sarah does, uh, or maybe take advantage of her very generous offer of the 20-minute guided breath work, you can absolutely click the link that we'll include in the notes of this podcast recording. And I do want to thank each of you for your time today. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode on the PlantFueled Femme. And thank you, Sarah, for your time and for providing more information for our clients. I think, it's been a while since we've had anyone on, like, well over a year to talk about somatic breathwork. So this was really great to have something fresh in.
Thank you.
Absolutely.